By what name are you known?
There are some who call me Tim.
Welcome to another episode of Timmy Talks, the channel where we talk old school magic. And today we are back in Arvika for the Arvika Festival, and we're going to look at a round 3 match played between Karl and Morten. And Karl is playing a Robots deck, and Morten is playing a counter burn deck. So two really good tier 1 decks going face to face here at round number 3 of the Swiss rounds of the Arvika Festival. Now, before I dive into the decks, I've got lovely deck photos of both of these decks. First, a message from our sponsor, 341 Trading. 341 Trading is one of Europe's leading Magic the Gathering retailers. Their online shop has a fantastic selection of high-end Magic cards, especially for vintage, legacy, and yes, also old school Magic players. But 341 Trading does more. They're now also buying all Magic the Gathering singles and entire collections, big and small. They're one of the top trading card game traders in Europe, buying way over 1 million Magic cards a year, and they are more than happy to make you an offer for your cards today. So if you have any cards for sale, 341 Trading is the place to go. Visit 341.gg/selltimmy to get your offer. And we are back and ready to dive into the deck text. I'm going to start with the player on the left, that is Karl. Let's take a look at his Robots deck. And here we see the Robots deck of Karl, and I think Robots at the moment might be the most popular deck in that kind of tier 1 league that players choose their decks from. Robots is called the Robots deck because you're playing with the artifact creatures Suchi and Triskelion. There's a full playset of both of these creatures in the deck of Karl, and I mean both of these creatures are really good, and especially Suchi in the Swedish format is really good because there's no mana burn. So it's basically a 4/4 for 4 without any drawbacks. And the Trike is so good because Triskelion, it's a 1/1, but it comes into play with 3+1/+1 counters. So as soon as it successfully hits the battlefield, you will always have value. You know, if your opponent plays a disenchant on it, for example, you can always use those 3 counters to usually shoot something off at the side of your opponent, or just put the 3 damage on your opponent. It always has some value. And then a lot of players played with animate debt, right? They want to get the Triskelion back. Karl is not doing it. Karl is really deep in blue, right? Check the blue out. So he's also playing white, red, and black, but his main color is really blue and of course brown for artifacts. And blue is really your go-to color when you're talking about artifacts, for the simple reason that you have copy artifact. Copy artifact is just insane. You know, it's 1 blue and 1 to copy an artifact. You can start copying your Trikes. It's crazy. You can deal a lot of damage very, very quickly. It's a very deadly cocktail that I've seen quite a lot here on the channel. Robots, like I said, is a very popular deck at the moment. And then another card, a blue card that goes really well with this artifact strategy is Sage of Letnam. Sage of Letnam, 1 blue and 1 for a 1/2 creature, and you can tap this creature to sacrifice an artifact, and in return you can draw a card. So the good thing about this is that as soon as your opponent tries to remove your artifacts, in response, you can simply tap your Sage and draw a card. Now, what I just want to note when we're talking about the other colors that Karl is playing, right? He's playing white, he's playing red, he's playing black. You know, black is only Mind Twist Demonic, which a lot of players do. It's the boring splash, it's the obvious splash, you know, not very exciting there. Then we see red, you know, Wheel of Fortune, Fireball. I mean, it's always good to have 1 Fireball, right? Especially when you play with Demonic Tutor in your deck. It's good to have these silver bullets. But then white. White is quite interesting because to me, it shows the power of Disenchant. Like, I already know how good Disenchant is, but just because I think he's playing white mainly because of Disenchant, just to give him access to Disenchant. Disenchant is simply the cleanest way to deal with enchantments in old school, and that fact that you can choose an artifact or an enchantment makes it so good, right? Because he's already splashing red, so you could also say, why not leave white out of the equation and go with Shatters instead? No, Disenchant is that good, you know? And of course, it also gives you access to Balance. Balance is quite good in this deck because Balance doesn't count non-artifact creatures. So if you can just empty your hand with your Moxen and your Soul Ring and then have an early Balance, it's kind of like an extra Mind Twist. So, you know, these cards kind of make it worth it. And the other white card that he's playing is Armageddon. Armageddon, again, it can be a game changer if you time it right. So yeah, this is looking like a very strong deck, and I think that Karl's opponent, that's Morten today, is going to have a really, really tough match trying to defeat this very strong Robots deck. Talking about that, let's take a look at the deck of Morten. And here we see the deck of Morten. So this is Counterburn. And I mean, Counterburn is such a classic deck. And I just talked about Karl, you know, that he's playing with a tier 1 deck with robots. Guess what? This is also a tier 1 deck. You know, Counterburn is so strong because it gives you access to counter magic. It's in the name, yeah. We see 3 counter spells and a mana drain. And it also gives you so much burn. I mean, look at this list. 4 bolts, 4 chains, 4 psionic blast. You could be dead before you blink your eyes. Playing against this deck is rough, right? I just said that it's going to be tough for Morten playing against Karl's robots, but it's going to be tough for Karl playing against this counter burn list because this is a tight list. You know, this is going to be really tough. And what I do when I look at these lists, because I've seen quite a lot of counter burn lists, I try to look at the subtle differences. So, for example, in this list, I look at the creatures because in the creatures you usually see some diverse choices, you know, some differences. In here we see 4 Surrender Befriets and 3 Ironclaw Orcs. You've got some other options. There was a time that you saw City in a Bottle so much that people started to play without Surrender Befriet and, for example, played with Suchis instead. And in this list you see the Suchis in the sideboard. So it's probably Morten's plan if he runs into a City in a Bottle. We know that Karl is playing a City in a Bottle in the sideboard, so could board that in. And then maybe Morten's going to board in his Suchis. Another option that you have is playing with Flying Man over Ironclaw Orc. Again, people don't do this for the reason that if you play and Flying Man and Surrender Befriet, you're very vulnerable to that City in a Bottle I just mentioned. But I think for me, it always feels like Flying Man is better than Ironclaw Orc if Flying Man wouldn't be Arabian Nights. You know what I mean? Maybe let me know in the comments if Flying Man wouldn't be Arabian Nights. Would you play it in this deck over Ironclaw Orcs? Ironclaw Orcs, of course, is fine. I mean, it's a 2/2. It deals a lot more damage than you would expect. A 2/2 for 2 in red. It's pretty good. And then there's another creature. And Morten, I am a little disappointed you're not playing that creature because look at your patch there at the top. He has that electric eel patch, and the electric eel is the other option that you can play. It's a blue creature for 1 blue, a 1/1, and for 2 red you can give it +2/+0. And for the longest time, this was kind of the stylish choice when you would play counter burn, also because you had that red mana symbol in the blue art. And as a little Timmy, I used to love the art of the electric eel. So I mean, you could have played it here. I get it. I agree with you. Ironclaw Orc is probably the better choice, but the more stylish and flavorful choice, in my opinion, would definitely be the electric eel. But then again, I mean, you're playing with the tier 1 deck, so you know, you're like, okay, I'm not going to play the eel. I want to be efficient. I'm at a big tournament here. I get it. I'm going to play with the Ironclaw Orcs. And I already talked a little bit about the sideboard, but just to go back there again, I think the sideboard is quite nice because, like I said, if you run into City in a Bottle, you put in the Suchi. If you run into a control deck, you put in devices, perhaps, you know, to deal some damage to punish all the card draw. If you play against, for example, Eureka deck or another big creature deck, you board in those control magics. Then you've got your Earthquake when you're playing against like decks like, I don't know, Green Stompy with a lot of smaller creatures. So I'm liking the sideboard. The sideboard seems, I can understand the sideboard, which is usually a good sign. You know, that means that every card kind of has a purpose in your sideboard. Anyway, this is the deck of Morten. We looked at the deck of Karl, so that only means one thing. Let's go to the match, round number 3 between Robots and Counterburn. Here we go. Game number 1, here we go. On the right, we have Morten, and he is starting with a volcanic island. He's playing Counterburn, and on the left, we have Karl, and he's playing Robots. Let's see what he can do in turn 1, a Tundra and a Go. So both players just starting with the duel. No Moxen or any other crazy openings here. Okay, there we see a Mox, the first one of the game, a Sapphire into a Surrender Befriet. So turn 2 Surrender. Are we going to see an answer here by Karl? There we have a Mishra's Factory. Tapping 2. Okay, there we've got a Chaos Orb. So next turn could flip. Unless, of course, Morten can find a Shatter here. Going to take a damage first from his own Surrender. Dropping to 19. Playing a City, attacking for 3. And there we see Ancestral Recall. So he's going to try to dig for that Shatter. Shatter, of course, would be a great answer here to the Chaos Orb. Going to tap 2. And, oh, there's a Time Walk. I thought that would be a Shatter, but it's a Time Walk. So a lot of power here being shown by Morten. And that means trouble for Karl, because he's definitely going to take 3 more damage. Going to drop to 14. There we go. And also a factory being played out here by Morten, the player from Denmark. And Kalle, a local player from Sweden. And I believe he's also part of the Arvika crew. And he has won this tournament as well a few times. Here we see a Soul Ring. He's going to tap the city and the Soul Ring for a Demonic Tutor. Oof. Man. You know, when you're Kalle and you're just looking at this, there's not really anything you can do. Just a lot of crazy powerful cards being played out by Morten. It all started with that Ancestral Recall into Time Walk. And now we have the Demonic Tutor. And then, of course, the big question is, what is he going to look up? I mean, you could go for Mind Twist here, and he still has 1 floating. So you could twist here for 3, or say I'm going to wait till next turn. Or you could, of course, shatter the Chaos Orb here. That's another option. Yeah, still has 1 floating, tapping, and there we see the shatter. Just wants to keep the Serendip around to keep attacking with it. And Kalle needs to find an answer here. He is still on 14, of course, has some time. So checking out the cards a little bit in the tank here. What to do? Going to play an Island and a Mox Jet. And I believe, is he passing or not? No. Still weighing his options. I mean, I assume he doesn't have a Swords, or else he would have Swords the Serendip a long time ago. Going to tap 4. Okay, there's a Suchi. Suchi doesn't fly, but it is, of course, a 4/4. Damage here for Morten, dropping to 16. There we see another duel, another Volcanic. There's the attack, and I have to say this Serendip is doing work. 9 damage already. Kalle on 11 at the moment. And I believe 2 cards in hand there for Morten. Gonna tap a Volcanic and a Soul Ring. Oh, Wheel of Fortune. That's always nice. So a wheel here. One of the cards lost by Kalle there is a copy artifact. Also a counterspell lost by Morten. Could have considered to pass, keep counterspell up. But choosing to go for the wheel play instead. And I mean, that makes sense as well. Remember, he's playing counter burn. He's got 12 burn spells in his deck. So, I mean, Kalle, maybe he thinks he's safe at 11, but against the counter burn, you're actually not. And I wonder if Morten's going to fire off some direct damage here. He's going to tap a Volcanic. There we see a Chain Lightning. Exactly. So, Kalle dropping to 8. And I mean, that means he's only 2 Psyblasts away from losing this first game. And I don't believe that Kalle has any life gain in his deck. He's going to tap 3, and there's a Psionic Blast. Very aggressive here, halving the life of Kalle. And there's a Bolt, going to go to 1. But yeah, 1 isn't dead. So I guess this is the last turn here for Kalle. And in a way, I understand Morten being so aggressive because, Kalle was tapped out, so you don't have to worry about counter magic. On the other hand, he's still on 1. Could have also decided to keep 4 mana open. But chose this direction. Gonna Kalle here tapping 6. Brain Geyser for 4. But I mean, he needs something against this flyer. And yeah. What is he looking for? There we see Black Lotus, cracking the Lotus. Soul Ring. There's another Suchi. Not enough here. Morten winning game number 1. And now both players are going to dive into their sideboards. And we will catch back up with you in game number 2. Game number 2. Here we go. Kalle on the play here in this second game. And let's see if he can make it into a 1-1. Starting here with the City of Brass. Followed by a Mox Pearl, tapping both, taking a damage. What are we going to see for 2? Ooh, look at that, a Time Walk. Going to take an extra turn, so Morten just has to wait. Karl here taking a second turn. Can he find a land? If he can find a land drop and another Mox, he could potentially play out a Suchi in turn 2. There we see the land, so that's a Mishra's Factory. There we see the Mox Emerald, so has 4 mana. Just passing turn though, so I guess no Suchi in hand. Passing turn here to Morten. Let's see what Morten can do in his first turn. Gonna take it back. Okay, gonna play a Strip Mine, taking care here of the City of Brass. And I think that's a good decision, right? The moment that Karl played out that factory and not another like dual land was kind of a sign that, hey, maybe he doesn't have a land that can produce colored mana. It's going to tap 2 here. Ooh, there we see a City in a Bottle. So City in a Bottle, I believe, coming in from the sideboard. And that means that Karl and Morten both can no longer play any Arabian Nights cards. As long as the City is in play. Here we see a Badlands being played out by Morten and a pass. Let's see if Karl has another land drop. Ooh, he's going to animate for 2. Risky. You're going to run into a bolt here. Passing the turn. There we see an island by Morten. Are we going to see an Ironclaw Orc perhaps? Going to tap 1. There's an Ancestral Recall again here for Morten. Finding that blue power again here. So many cards in hand now. What to do? Does he have a Mox in there, for example? Look at that, discarding Library of Alexandria. Of course, the card has no use at the moment because of that City in a Bottle. Now, Morten, of course, does play with Shatters. So if he can find a Shatter, could decide to take out the... ooh, look at this! Balance! That is nasty! That's going to destroy both lands on the side of Morten and take care of his hand. Morten in response playing a Bolt. This is nasty. Balance really shining here for Karl. Morten losing both lands and having to discard 2 cards as well. So that's a very good balance. And Morten, of course, discarding his Arabian Nights cards. Playing a Mishra's Factory passing turn. There's a Felwar Stone, which is not going to do anything. At least not at the moment. Now it can do something. It can produce a blue or a red mana. There's the attack for 2. Karl dropping here to 14. There's the pass. Tapping 2 and another Felwar Stone. So now he's got 4 mana, right? At least enough to cast a Suchi if he finds one. There's another mountain here for Morten. Could consider attacking here for 2. Gonna animate, attack here, or we're gonna see a disenchant. Tapping a white. There's a Swords to Plowshares. Does mean 2 more life here for Morten, but the factory is gone. And there's the pass back to Karl. I mean, Karl really needs some kind of pressure, right? Now remember, he's also playing with 4 Triskelion, so perhaps needs to go up to 6 there. We see a Sage of Letnam, and I believe I saw a Suchi in Karl's hand, so that means that he first wants to deploy the Sage. Unfortunately, it dies here, but yeah, first wanted to deploy the Sage so that he can then start sacking. Oh, we see a blue Elemental Blast here. This is important. There we see a red Elemental Blast though, so the Sage is going to die. And what I'm trying to say is he first wanted to have the Sage on the board without Summoning Sickness so that he could always sack an artifact creature in response if Morten tried to, for example, play a Shatter on it and at least get a card out of it. Here we see a Suchi. So the Suchi now hit the board, the 4/4. Underground Sea for Morten. Gonna tap 3. There's a Wheel of Fortune. I have to say I'm really liking this second game. It's going up and down and up and down, and a wheel is always fun. So 7 cards for Morten, 7 cards for Karl. And of course Morten already had the land drop. Finding a Mox here, Mox Pearl. And a Black Lotus. What can he do with the Black Lotus and the Pearl? He's going to sack the Lotus. Psionic Blast here, taking care of the Suchi. And there's the pass. But of course, Karl also has 7 brand new cards in hand, so I wonder what we're going to see. There we see a Tundra, tapping the Emerald. We're going to see a Soul Ring. There's the Soul Ring, has 6 mana now. Could play out a Triskelion if he has one in hand, of course. 1, and it's 3 mana tapped. 3 mana in the pool here for Karl. Gonna tap 4, another Suchi. So another Suchi here hitting the board. There's a Factory and a Shatter here on the Suchi. Gonna tap 2 though. There's a Counterspell Mana Drain on the Shatter. That resolves. So things are looking up here for Karl. He can now finally start attacking. Karl on 14 and Morten on 19. Well, 20 actually. There is a copy artifact, so I guess he's going to copy the Suchi here. Another copy artifact. Wow. That is crazy. So 2 copy artifacts. So he's got 3 Suchis now on the battlefield, attacking for 4. Morten dropping to 16. Also that Chaos Orb, and next turn he's going to take a lot of damage. Double copy artifact. And here you can really see the power of copy artifact. Karl also could have chosen to start copying his Chaos Orb, but went for the Suchis instead. I think that's a better choice, because then next turn, if Morten doesn't have an answer, you can swing in for 12, which is huge. Even if Morten chump blocks one with the Factory, he's still on a 2-turn clock. So it has to get rid of some of the Suchis here. Gonna tap 2. A white and a red. Gonna untap again though. I mean, a Shatter would be a good start, right? Just get rid of at least one. There we see a Shatter. Gonna take care of the OG. So Suchi gone. But I mean, he's still in trouble. Still faces a 2-turn clock. There are 2 Suchis on the side of Karl. So that's 8 damage. Gonna swing in. 8 damage here taken by Morten, dropping to 8. And can Karl put on some extra pressure? Gonna tap 6 it seems. And oh, there's a Brain Geyser for 4. Yeah, it's really looking good for Karl here. He has more cards, more threats on the board. He's really in control here. Still has that Chaos Orb that he can use if need be. Passing the turn here back to Morten. Yeah, Morten needs a miracle. He's on 8. There's an island for Morten. I mean, maybe if he has a Control Magic, right? That's something. There's a Chain Lightning first. On the life total here of Karl. Passing the turn. Yeah, that kind of says enough, right? I was maybe thinking he was going to go Chain Bolt on a Suchi, which is not ideal, but sometimes you have to do it. But there's the attack here. It's going to animate. Is he going to flip now before blockers are declared? No, he doesn't even have to. Has a Disenchant here. That's it. Karl winning the second game. It's 1-1, and that means we're going to go to an all-decisive game number 3. Game number 3. Here we go. The big decider. Morten on the play. Let's see what he can do in this turn 1. Factory. Pearl. Ooh, look at that opening. And there's a Jet. There's a Lotus. Wow, his whole hand is almost played out. Second the Lotus. 1 card left. Having a Surrender Defeat there on the board turn 1. Lots and lots of mana for him, but just 1 card though. That could be problematic for Morten. I mean, if Karl now simply has, for example, a Swords, that would help him a lot. Only has a Mishra's Factory, though. Passing the turn. Morten here taking his first point of damage. Going to drop to 19. And now he can already attack for 5, right? Because also has the Factory. That is huge. Attacking for 5, taking away a quarter of the life of Karl. Dropping to 15 here. The Swede is under pressure. The local from Arvika here. Fighting for survival. 1-1. And like I said, if you can find, for example, a Swords, but finding an Underground Sea. Okay, taking extra turn with the Time Walk, that can definitely help. Going to draw a card for turn. I mean, first point of business is getting rid of that Surrender Befried. I mean, he is playing Sword Supply Shares in the sideboard. I'm sure he boarded those in. Of course, a City in a Bottle would be great as well. Here we see a Library of Alexandria and we see a Chaos Orb. Is he going to flip? He's gonna pass. Of course, maybe waiting for him to gain a life. Then he's gonna flip. Are we gonna see a Shatter? Oh, it's a missed flip. He did it so quickly, though. It's a missed flip. This can be so problematic. Karl here missing a flip that doesn't happen often. Took it so quickly, though. Dropping to 10 here now on the 2-turn. Well, I mean, maybe 3-turn clock. Can, of course, still block with his own Mishra's Factory. Oh, but this flip is huge. If he would have hit the flip, we would have had a completely different game. There we see a Sage of Latnam. Tapping 2 more. And okay, there's a City in a Bottle. Okay. Does the work. Gonna get rid of the Surrender Befried. There's the pass. Yeah, this City was really necessary for Karl. But if he would have hit the flip, he could have kept the City in hand, go up to 7 and start using his library. But now that wasn't an option anymore after the missed flip. There's an Animate, of course. Morten going to attack here. Probably Karl is going to take 2, drop to 8. And again, this is risky because you're playing against so much firepower. Here we see the Chaos Orb for Morten. I wonder if he's going to use it. I mean, there are 2 very tempting targets, right? I mean, you could go for the Sage because the Sage is going to give Karl cards later on. You could also go for the Mishra's Factory. Exactly, because the Factory is what Karl wants to block with. There's the flip. That's a hit. Clear flip here. Nice. You see the high five from Karl. Yeah, there's a really nice atmosphere at this tournament. Great sportsmanship there by Karl, giving that high five. And yeah, it is what it is for him, right? I mean, this missed flip could be crucial. And he's going to eat up his own City in a Bottle to try to dig a little bit deeper. Going to find a land to play out. It's the City of Brass. And there's the pass. So, I mean, Morten can just attack again for 2, right? And he can put Karl on 6, which is means that he's going to be in the double bolt range. There's the Animate. There's the attack for 2. Ooh, dropping to 6. It's looking very dire here for Karl. 1-1, round number 3. Control Magic there in hand, it seems, for Morten. I would control the Sage. I would do it, you know. I would take it, but maybe he's thinking, you know what? If you play out a Suchi next turn, I can steal the Suchi. Then again, Morten can then sack that artifact in response to your Control Magic. But then again, then the Control Magic is removal, which is also good. So I also understand Morten here for keeping the Control Magic in hand. But I would be tempted to just go for that Sage. It's going to tap 4, going to take a damage, drop to 5. Oh, there we see the Suchi. Ho ho! And we know what Morten's going to do now. He's going to steal that Suchi. So I guess he made the right decision to keep the Control Magic in hand. First we see a chain. Nice order of things. Finding the chain from the top. This is ideal for Morten. And there we see the Control Magic. Yeah, this is a perfect scenario for Morten. Finding the cards in the right order. Finding that chain from the top. That was perfect. Gonna put Karl here on 3. And I mean, Karl needs a balance, right? But yeah, he needs a balance. That's what he needs. Or Disenchant. Disenchant is better, of course. Just Disenchant on the Suchi. We'll give him the Suchi back. But it's looking very bad for Karl. I mean, he's on 3. And remember, Morten is playing 4 bolts, 4 chains, 4 Psionic Blasts. Gonna play out a blocker in the form of the Suchi. Did he find a Lightning Bolt? Because that can give him the victory here. Can also just attack with both because Karl has to block the Suchi. It's going to animate here the factory, attack with both. Ooh, it's going to go to 2. Oh, there we see a red elemental blast. This is really good. Karl is not dead yet, and now he can block the factory. And yeah, I guess as soon as you red elemental blast to control magic, the creature is no longer attacking for you. And now Karl can block the factory, kill the factory. Wow, what a change here. Karl is back in the game. Now he can attack for 10. That's huge. Basically, Morten's now on a 2-turn clock. What a big difference one red elemental blast can make. I mean, why not also animate your factory? I would just go in for 10, to be honest. Attacking for 8 here. Gonna put Morten on 10. Ooh, gonna go to 1. What a risk taker. Gonna tap 4 here. There's an Armageddon. Oh, wow. This is huge. Armageddon. Oh, is Karl gonna win here from a losing position? Is he actually gonna win? There's the pass. Put him on 2. What a game number 3. This is madness. Madness. What are we going to see? Oh, he's going to win it here. 2-1 for Karl. Amazing victory. I didn't see this coming. It's crazy. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Oh, I mean, I was there when they were playing it live, but I didn't remember. I didn't register this victory. This is insane. Wow, Karl, well done. Winning 2-1 here. Fantastic. Now, if you're enjoying this tournament as much as I do, make sure you hit the subscribe button and ring that bell, because then you will be notified when I'm posting my new video, and my new video will be another round from Arvika Festival. I have footage for you all the way from the Swiss rounds all the way up to the final. So if you don't want to miss a thing, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And also, if you've already subscribed, thank you for that. Please take a moment to like, share, and comment. All these things are free and really help the channel move forward. Talking about moving forward, you can also become a patron of the show. Check out patreon.com/TimmyTalks for all the information. And for now, thank you very much for watching, and let's go to the end scroll.
What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Early in the morning, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober, putting in the longboat until he's sober. Early in the morning, way hey and up she rises, way hey and up she rises. Rises early in the morning. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Pull out the plug and wet him all over. Early in the morning. Way hey up she rises. Way hey up she rises. Way hey up she rises early in the morning. What shall we do with the drunken sailor? What shall we do with the drunken sailor? Put in the scouts to the husband's son. Put in the scouts to the husband's son. Put in the scouts to the husband's son. Early in the morning. Way hey up she rises. Way hey up she rises. Way hey up she rises early in the morning.
Igitus, figitus, sumba, kazee.